तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः।
ॐ तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. We are studying here the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and yesterday we finished reading the conversation of 15th November. But before I take up anything new from the old readings, I have to offer two comments. One was the conversation on the 28th October, in which Bhishma, Arjuna, Krishna, Pandavas were mentioned. Now there may be many people who are not aware of Indian mythology, or rather Indian history. And so, why Krishna was the charioteer of Pandavas? What was the cause of his becoming charioteer of Arjuna? In what context it was so? I told a little about Bhishma's bed of arrows, but not about this fact. So those who are, even many Indians are not exactly aware. So whatever is there mentioned in the Mahabharata, I want to tell you. First thing is that Pandavas, I have to go back a little to tell you the complete history. Pandavas and Kauravas, let me go back. There were three brothers. Eldest was Dhritarashtra, but he was born blind. And blind people were not authorized to sit on the throne or be the kings. The next brother was Pandu. He was valorous. He was a hero, and he was officially the king. The third was a stepbrother born of a maidservant. His name was Vidura, and he was the wisest person in that household. And he was the minister to Dhritarashtra. Now, Pandu liked living in forest, waging wars, conquering more and more land. And so he had made Dhritarashtra the caretaker king. Now, I will tell you a little more. Now the next generation, it would not be seen who is the son of Dhritarashtra or Pandu, but whoever is the eldest prince born either of Dhritarashtra or of Pandu, he would be the next king. That was the rule, constitutional rule in those days. Now, Dhritarashtra's wife Gandhari had conceived, but the fetus was not coming out of her womb at all. In the forest, Pandu's wife Kunti conceived. And when Gandhari wanted her son to be the king, Gandhari, because she had already conceived, so if the fetus comes out as a son, he would surely become the king. But she heard that in the forest, Kunti has given birth to Yudhishthira. Now, that set up a tremendous bad reaction in the mind of Gandhari. That what fate has decreed for me, though I have conceived earlier, the fetus is not coming out of my stomach. So, in a rage of anger, she hit her own stomach by her fist several times. And because of that, the fetus came out. Now what to do with that? Appeal was made to the wisest person in that time, which was Bhagavan Vyasa. So Vyasa advised this flesh should be cut into 100 pieces and incubated artificially in some mud pots. And then perhaps 101 pots, because one sister also was there. Now, or she was born separately, I do not remember exactly. Now, these 100 fetuses ripened into, because what they had, science development we do not know, or some subtle powers. But these 100 fetuses came out as sons. And the first among them was Duryodhana. And Duryodhana knew all this history. And so he had an ambition to become the king. Now, so many tricks he played on the Pandavas and tried to kill them. Of course, you can ascribe some reason to it, but that was not the reason. Bhishma, the second son of Kunti, was physically extra strong. And so he would just, as a children's prank, throw these Kauravas, Kuru's sons, Dhritarashtra's sons, but Dhritarashtra not being any special person, they were known as Kauravas. Kuru was their ancestor. In that sense, Pandavas also were Kauravas. But because of Pandu's heroism, they were known as Pandavas. And now, this Bhima used to play tricks or pranks on the Kauravas. That could not be the reason. But that was a pretext, you may say. And Duryodhana tried so many evil, foul means to get Pandavas killed, especially Bhima. But every time someone, Vidura many times, he had his own spy network, so he could understand Duryodhana's tricks and make some arrangement by which the Pandavas will not be killed. Sometimes providence. Now, when they last trick was a city called Varanavat. There a palace was renovated. At that time, now these Kauravas, their maternal uncle, Gandhari's brother, Shakuni, was the evil genius behind Duryodhana's tricks. So what he arranged there was that the walls were filled up with plastered white shellac, which is the most combustible substance. And some of Shakuni's people came and told that we are come from Varnava and we are all eager to see the new prince. That is, Yudhishthir was installed as the future king. And we want to see him. So, Yudhishthir wanted all his brothers and his mother also accompany him. And everybody liked that. Because Shakuni and Duryodhana thought, let all the 5 brothers and mother be killed. Their idea was, they will spend the night there. He will appoint some servants for them separately, and they would manage some intoxicants in their food or milk so that they will be fast asleep. And as soon as they go to sleep, somebody would ignite the palace. That was his evil genius. Now it so happened that many people came to see them in the daytime, and one woman with her 5 sons came there towards the night, and she could not go away before nightfall. So she stayed somewhere in that palace. Now, at the Vidura came to know all this plan, and he sent his people to dig a channel from the river bank to the palace, that newly built palace, and sent his own 5 or 6 people to work as the laborers there. And they revealed their plan to Yudhishthir and others that this is the conspiracy. So, when the night falls, you should escape. If you dig a little here, you will get the tunnel. And through that, you would go to the river bank, and there, boats will be ready. Now the Duryodhana has become very powerful. And so, you should not go back to Hastinapur, the capital today. You should escape to another kingdom, Panchala's kingdom. And there you will be safe. And you should disguise yourself as Brahmins. So no doubt will come on you. Otherwise, he would make another attempt. So they followed his advice, went through and found the boats on the opposite bank and escaped to another country. In that country, and the news went that a woman with her 5 sons have been charred to death there. And everybody believed it is Kunti and the 5 Pandavas. These people, dressed as Brahmins, went to another country. And there, the king Drupada was ruling, and he had, we'll go on like that if you want. He and Dronacharya, the archery teacher of Pandavas and Kauravas, for whom Arjuna was the pet, Dronacharya and Drupada, a king and a poor Brahmin, learned from the same guru. And when in that time Drupada might have promised that if you want something, you come to me, I will be the king. No, Drona had nothing with him. And his son, Ashwatthama's mother used to feed him with some white powder, rice powder or some powder in water, appeared as milk. So Dronacharya went to Drupad and asked him for a cup. Drupada forgot means conveniently forgot all his promises and said, friends are only equals. You get out. I will not give you any cow. So Drona had a grudge anyway. He taught Arjuna in such a way that Arjuna had Drupada captured and brought to Drona. Now this story of anger and revenge. So Drona had to humiliate him and release him. Drupada wanted to see that Drona, can he be killed? So he made a sacrifice. And from that sacrifice, one son and one daughter were born to him. Born to him means, naturally, they were supposed to be his son and daughter, though they were born from the sacrifice. Drishtadyumna was the name of the son who eventually killed Drona. And Draupadi was the sister, that king's daughter. And he decided that I will get Draupadi married to Arjuna or some hero like him. So he made, in those days there were Swayamvara, girls choosing their own husbands. But sometimes the parents would fix some vow, and those who succeeded in carrying out that would be eligible to marry her. So all the Kshatriya, and what was that? A wheel was moving, and through that aperture, that moving wheel aperture, beyond that, there was an image of a fish. And the archer had to look in water below, and through that take the aim and hit an arrow to shoot that bird, that fish. This was the most difficult. And all the Kshatriyas who had gathered there failed. And then the Brahmins, Arjuna arose and hit that. And then when they came back to Kunti, and they said, we have brought a wonderful bhiksha today, alms. Because of the Brahmins, they used to beg. Kunti, without looking at that, she said, share that alms equally. And when it came to know that it is not rice, it is a woman. But then they wanted to keep up. Kunti had never spoken a lie up till that point. So they wanted to keep up her truth-speaking capacity. So, under the advice of the wise people, Vyasa and others, all 5 brothers were married to Draupadi. Now they had some power. Drupada was a great warrior, Drishtadyumna was a great warrior, and the Pandavas had one Draupadi. So they came to Hastinapur. They sent the message to Hastinapur. Dhritarashtra got the message, and then they were invited in honor. And there, Krishna and Drishtadyumna went with her. And they demanded we want half the kingdom. At least we should be given our rights. When they were supposed to be dead, Duryodhana was made the next king. So we don't want to take away everything from him, but we want half. And so, under the evil advice of Shakuni, they were given the dilapidated old palaces of the ancestors in a forest. And there, with Krishna's help, Arjuna recovered all the wealth hidden there, and they made the beautiful palaces there, and it was called Khandava Prastha. They made it Indra Prastha, and they came and lived there. Now there they performed the Rajasuya Yajna, where the kings had to accept their superiority. And there they had built a palace in which the special architect of the gods or the asuras built such places that it appeared like water, but it was plain marble. It appeared like plain marble and it was water. And there, this Duryodhana and all were invited, and they fell in that pond, and they fell, and they carefully lifted their clothes to walk through the floor, which was not water. Now, all this resulted in the jealousy in Duryodhana raising its head. And what he did, Shakuni was not only an expert dice player, but a crooked dice player. And he had some special dice which would give the number he wanted. And in those days, if any Kshatriya was interested in dice, he could not refuse if challenged for a dice game. So they took Dhritarashtra's permission and invited the Pandavas for dice and said that Shakuni will play instead of Duryodhana. And this said Yudhishthir. And they were trapped. Yudhishthir lost everything, including himself, his brothers, and Draupadi. So they humiliated, insulted Draupadi like anything. Only God could save her. And then Gandhari could not bear all that and said, cancel all this, free them. Then Duryodhana begged for one more game. And there the condition was that whoever loses will go to forest for 12 years, and after that 1 year incognito. And if found out, he will have to go to forest another 12 years. And Pandavas had to accept that. And that also Yudhishthira lost. And they were sent to, I'm not telling the whole story, but that much which is connected with Krishna being charioteer of Arjuna. So they went to the forest and they found some place for incognito life. They came back and then they demanded, as per the condition of the dice, that now give us our half kingdom back. Duryodhana, having tasted the kingship and his ambition, his ego, he said, Krishna was ready to compromise, give 5 villages to 5 brothers. He said, land even on the tip of a needle, I'll not give unless we fight war. So it was decided in the name of dharma, righteousness, and justice that war has to be fought. Now, the old people had another tradition. in a war, who is just and who is not just will be decided with the war only. And so, if they approach some king to help their side, he has to. So, Duryodhana and Arjuna both went to Krishna. Krishna was sleeping. We don't know whether he was really sleeping or not, but he was lying on his bed with eyes closed. Duryodhana entered first and he was arrogant. So he sat on a chair near Krishna's head. After that, after a few moments, Arjuna came, he entered and he revered Krishna as God himself. So he sat on a seat near the Krishna's feet. Now Krishna showed as if he was sleeping or really sleeping, and when he opened his eyes, it fell on Arjuna first. So he asked Arjuna, Arjuna, how you have come? Duryodhana said, I have come and I have come first. But what you want? We both want you should side us in the war. Now Krishna said, I have decided not to participate in the war at all. I will not hold any weapon at all. But what I have divided into two parts. I have my own military, a very big number, and they are called unconquered Narayani Sena. So that is on one side. On the other side, I can join that party, but I will not hold any weapon. And because I saw Arjuna first, I give him the first chance. Which of these two you want? Now Arjuna had a pride. What pride? He said, I am enough to kill all the evil people of the world, but I want somebody to keep my mind all right. And so I want you, Krishna. I do not want the military. And Duryodhana was happy. If Krishna will not fight, what is that of use to me? So there was no quarrel on that point. Duryodhana went away with that army, and Krishna asked Arjuna, I played tricks and gave you the first choice. Was you all right in your brain that you choose me? Arjuna said, I don't want anybody's help in battle, but I want you to keep my mind all right. So, you please be my charioteer during the war and guide me. Another fact is that Krishna was the most superior charioteer in the whole world in those days. Next to him, almost equal to him, was Shalya. Pandu had two wives, Kunti and Madri. And Kunti had three sons, Yudhishthir, Bhim and Arjun. Madri had two sons, Nakul and Sahadev. Now this Shalya, the brother of Madri, was a peculiar mind of man. He could be won over easily. So he was coming to join the Pandavas. But Duryodhana made a big shop, big mall, and feast and everything. He provided free to the coming Shalya. And Shalya became pleased and asked Duryodhana, what do you want? I want you to fight on our side. Now he was the next best or equal charioteer. There was no other equal to them. So this is the story of Krishna becoming charioteer of Arjuna. And that we know the war ended in the total destruction of all the military on both sides. So I wanted to tell in detail the connecting facts of Krishna becoming charioteer to Arjuna, because that was mentioned when they visited Bhishma. Now, second point, in the next conversation of 15th November, there was a mention of Mr. Vishwas. Mr. Vishwas had been sitting in the room a long time. He now left. He had once been wealthy, but had squandered everything in an immoral life. Finally, he had become indifferent to his wife and children. Referring to Mr. Vishwas, the master said, he is an unfortunate wretch. A householder has his duties to discharge, his debts to pay, his debt to the gods, his debt to his ancestors, his debt to the rishis, and his debt to wife and children. If a wife is chaste, then her husband should support her. He should also bring up their children until they are of age. So here, Balram said, Mr. Vishwas now wants to cultivate the company of holy people. And Thakur took as a joke where at this. And we were interested to know who is this Mr. Vishwas. Now in the Bengali, what is called the Akhanda edition, total chronological edition, in the end, there are many appendices. And in that, all the people mentioned in the gospel, their life, sketch is given in short. So there we find Vishwas Babu. That Vishwas is a surname, and his name is Ambika Charan Vishwas. He belonged to Khardha. He was tremendously respected, very rich, son of a landlord. Now, there is a character, Yogi in Ma. Thakur's disciple, permanent accompaniment for his Sarada Devi, and she was married to this Vishwas. And from a distance, he was related to Balram. That is why the Balram had some soft corner. Now, by his own wrong actions, he had become totally a wretch. And Ambika Charan had Thakur's vision in Balram's house, as we find it. So this is Vishwas Babu, a wretch who lost everything, became indifferent to Yoginma and her daughter, and that was the Ambika Charan Vishwas. Now we come to today's topic, and today's topic, a small topic, 15th November we have read. So a small topic on Thursday, November 16th, next day. Thursday, November 16, 1882, the master had come to Calcutta. In the evening, he went to the house of Rajmohan, a member of the Brahma Samaj, where Narendra and some of his young friends used to meet and worship according to the Brahma ceremonies. So they had made their own young people's Brahma Samaj, and following its customs, they used to meet and pray there. So there, Sri Ramakrishna went. Let us find this. Rajmohan also. It should be there. Of course, what we have read is sufficient. If I quickly get, I will tell you. Rajmohan. Old Brahmo devotees who came in contact with Sri Ramakrishna. His house was in Shimulia, that is Swamikanda's neighbor. And Narendranath, that is Swamikananda, young people like him used to assemble in his house. Hearing that, Thakur went there on 16 November 1882. Evam saw their worship and heard Narendra's song, and Rajmohan had given some snacks to Sri Ramakrishna. That much is there. So, where Narendra and of his young friends, some of his young friends used to meet and worship according to Brahma ceremonies, Sri Ramakrishna wanted to see their worship so that he could guide Narendra accordingly. He was accompanied by M and a few other devotees. The master was very happy to see Narendra and expressed a desire to watch the young men at their worship. Narendra sang, and then the worship began. One of the young men conducted it. He prayed, "O Lord, may we give up everything and be absorbed in Thee." That was not the usual Brahma custom. So Master Macha says, possibly the youth was inspired by the Master's presence and so talked of utter renunciation. Sri Ramakrishna remarked in a whisper, much likelihood there is of that. That means there is no likelihood that they will renounce everything, except Narendranath, of course. So, that much short description is there, and Sri Ramakrishna liking to see, listening to Narendra's song, and making a remark on their shallow worship, though they are talking of total renunciation. Rajmohan served the master with refreshments. This much is 16th November. Then we go to the next Sunday, November 19, 1882. It was the auspicious occasion of the Jagadhatri Puja, the festival of the Divine Mother. So Divine Mother is worshipped as Durga. Meaning of Durga is one who takes devotees from the most difficult situations, one who saves them is called Durga. Kali is the combined power of all gods, and she kills the asuras. And then comes the Jagadhatri. Jagadhatri is another form of Durga or Parvati, but she is known to protect this whole universe, nourish this whole universe. That is Jagadhatri. And that puja comes 9 days after the Kali Puja. So, it was the auspicious occasion of the Jagadhatri Puja, the festival of the Divine Mother. Sri Ramakrishna was invited to Surendra's house in Calcutta. We have come already across Surendra Mittir. But first he went to the house of Manamohan in the neighborhood. Manamohan also have come across. Ramchandra Datta and Manamohan Mitra were the first to come from Keshav's party to Sri Ramakrishna. The master was seated in Manamohan's parlor. He said, God very much relishes the bhakti of the poor and the lowly. Understood? Just as the cow relishes fodder mixed with oil cake. Every day, cows are fed with fodder, that is grass, dry grass, But once in a while, for her nourishment, they add oil cake. That is seeds, cotton seeds from where oil is made. So those seeds are crushed and made into a cake, and that is mixed with the grass. That is oil cake. Now when that is there, it is very tasteful, and so the cow eats it with much relish. That simile is using that God loves the devotee, devotion, bhakti of the poor and the lowly. Just as the cow relishes fodder mixed with oil cake. King Duryodhana showed Krishna the splendor of his wealth and riches, but Krishna accepted the hospitality of poor Vidura. So there is an example in the same Mahabharata story that Krishna was sent. War and everything is decided. Krishna is on their side. But as a last attempt, if war could be avoided, Krishna was sent as a messenger to Duryodhana. Now Duryodhana received with all pomp and glory and wanted to feed him, but Krishna refused that food because one should not eat food from an enemy. And he went to the minister Vidura, who I just now described, the son of a maidservant, though their brother and minister. He was a great devotee, and he was comparatively, according to the mythology, poor. So that example is giving King Duryodhana showed Krishna the splendor of his wealth and riches, but Krishna accepted the hospitality of the poor Vidura. God is fond of his devotees. He runs after the devotee as the cow after the calf. Now, cow after the calf is mentioned in the Vedas. How God loves his devotees. That cow goes to graze, comes back in the evening, and she first wants to feed her calf with the milk. And so she shouts and runs after the calf, and the calf comes immediately and takes her milk. This is mentioned in the Vedas. Devotees praying to God, please come, as cow comes to the calf, please come to us. So that simile Sri Ramakrishna is giving. He runs after the devotees as the cow after the calf. And then the master sang to impress upon this point. I lost the original page. Yes, it is there. It is there. Yes. जे भाव लागे परम योगी योग करे युग युगांतरे होले भावेर उदय लय से जमन लोहा के चुंबक धरे. So, God is the magnet. It attracts the devotees. And devotee is the magnet who attracts God. That is the theme of the song. English. And for that love, the mighty yogis practice yoga from age to age to get love from God. When love awakes, the Lord, like a magnet, draws to him the soul, and the vice versa also. Then he said, Chaitanya used to shed tears of joy at the very mention of Krishna's name. So he is inculcating devotion in all of them. Chaitanya was an incarnation 500 years before Sri Ramakrishna, and he mainly preached devotion, and he used to feel so much that the very mention of Krishna's name used to shed tears of joy. God alone is the real substance. The philosophy behind this is that God alone is the real thing, I would like to call it. Substance, all else is illusory. Generally, this substance is used for substance and qualities. But beyond the substance and qualities is the reality or the thing in itself. So, substance is not wrong, but God alone is the reality. All else is illusory. Man can realize God if he wants to, but he madly craves the enjoyment of woman and gold. So that is called Maya. That is called the deluding power. The snake has a precious stone in its head, but it is perfectly satisfied to eat a mere frog. Now that stone is very precious, and it is in some snakes, mind you, not all. Footnote says a folk belief in Bengal. I think the fact is that in some snakes it is there. Naganam Manayoriyatha. And snakes' popular food is the frogs. Bhakti is the one essential thing. Who can ever know God through reasoning? We see this repeated again and again. Reasoning depends upon duality. Bhakti is the force of attraction which will remove this duality and make it one. I want love of God. What do I care about knowing His infinite glories? One bottle of wine makes me drunk. This is only example. Sri Ramakrishna never drank wine. What do I care about knowing how many gallons there are in the grog shop? Gallons is the old measure, British measure. Now everything is measured in liters. One jar of water is enough to quench my thirst. I don't need to know the amount of water there is on the earth. So different things he is telling. I want love. Whatever has to happen will happen. I am not interested to use my reasoning to know the infinitude of God. So this was in Manamohan's parlor. Sri Ramakrishna arrived at Surendra's house. Many devotees had assembled there, including Surendra's elder brother, who was a judge. Master to Surendra's brother, you are a judge. That is very good. Everything is good if you put the rider afterwards. But remember, everything happens through God's power. It is He who has given you your high position. That is how you become a judge. People think it is they who are great. The water from the roof flows through a spout that is shaped like a lion's head. From the terrace, the water comes out. It looks as if the lion were bringing the water out through its mouth. But look at the source of the water. A cloud gathers in the sky and rain falls on the roof. Then the water flows through the pipe and at last comes out through the spout. So he made Surendra's brother aware that he should remember this greatness is all due to God's grace, not his own achievement. Surendra's brother, the Brahmo Samaj preaches the freedom of women and the abolition of the caste system. What do you think about these matters? Because he is judge. And so the social thing which Brahmos preach, he refers to Sri Ramakrishna. Master, men feel that way when they are just beginning to develop spiritual yearning. So in the very beginning, the spiritual yearning makes a mind's man broad and he thinks of the society only in the beginning. A storm raises clouds of dust and one cannot distinguish between the different trees, the mango, the hawk plum and the tamarind. But after the storm blows over, one sees clearly. So this equates to the storm. After the first storm of divine passion is quelled, so this becomes quiet after some time, this social thing. One gradually understands that God alone is the highest good, the eternal substance, and that all else is transitory. Throughout the gospel is repeating endlessly. All else is illusory, all else is transitory, all else is unreal. God is the highest good, the eternal substance. What is the highest good? Shivam. One cannot grasp this without tapasya. So it requires austerities, hardships, sadhana for God, and then only the mind's understanding opens to the spiritual truths. And he will know that God alone is real, all else is illusory after spiritual struggle. One cannot grasp this without tapasya and the company of holy men. If he lives in the company of sannyasis who have given up the world for their love of God, then he will understand that God is the only reality. One cannot grasp this without tapasya and the company of holy men. What is the use of merely reciting the written part for the drum? Now, another simile is used. Drum in India, the percussion instruments can be played in such a way to bring out so many sounds, songs, poems, so many things can be brought out from the percussion instrument. Same thing we can talk by mouth also. What the people who are expert in that, they first tell by mouth and then bring it by their fingers. So that Sri Ramakrishna is referring. What can be accomplished by a mere no? What is the use of merely reciting the written parts for the drum? You understand? Written parts for the drum. That means these are the sounds which will bring out from the drum. So that is written down. So that is the written part. It is very difficult to put them into practice on the instrument. What can be accomplished by a mere lecture? It is austerity that is necessary. By that alone can one comprehend. You asked about caste distinction. So that devotee, that Surendra's brother, the judge, had asked freedom of women and the abolition of caste system. So Thakur is telling that all this is only talk. You cannot understand spirituality or God unless you practice, not by theoretical lectures. You asked about caste distinction. There is only one way to remove them, and that is by love of God. We had seen that yesterday also. No, in the morning class it was there in Upadesh Sahasri. Lovers of God have no caste. Through this divine love, the untouchable becomes pure. The pariya no longer remains a pariya. Chaitanya embraced all, including the pariya, the chandala, or the lowest caste people who are untouchables. The members of the Brahma Samaj sing the name of Hari. That is very good. Through earnest prayer, one receives the grace of God and realizes Him. God can be realized by means of all paths. That is Sri Ramakrishna's special view. The same God is invoked by different names. Surendra's brother. Sir, what do you think of theosophy? Theosophy is an offshoot of Indian thought. It originated in America. Annie Besant was one of the leaders, and they believed in spiritualism, ghosts and planchets and talking with dead people, and that instead of spirituality, it is called spiritualism. Spirit means disembodied soul, and they deal with that. And it appears as if spirituality is similar too, and that they judge us. Master, I have heard that men can acquire superhuman powers through it and perform miracles. I saw a man who had brought a ghost under control. That is what they do. The ghost used to procure various things for his master. So a powerful ghost, and Thakur has seen that. Thakur does not deny that. What shall I do with superhuman powers? Can one realize God through them? If God is not realized, then everything becomes false. So he has given his clear opinion on theosophy. You know theosophy's relation with Swami Vivekananda? He wanted a certificate from them that he represents Indian religion. They said, if you become our follower, then only we can do that. And when he suffered due to cold in America, somebody said, let the devil die of cold. So now we come to a portion of which the date has not been ascertained, month is ascertained. November 1882. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon when Sri Ramakrishna arrived in Calcutta to attend the annual festival of the Brahma Samaj, which was to be celebrated at Manilal Mallik's house. We attended a festival in Siti, that Venipal's house, and now it is Mani Mallik's house. Besides him and other devotees of the Master, Vijay Goswami and a number of Brahmas were present. Elaborate arrangement had been made to make the occasion a success. Vijay was to conduct the worship. I think we'll take it up tomorrow. Om Tava Kathāmritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadasatam Bhui Grunanti Ye Bhurida Jana. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.